Alright, number 5 looks a little strange because there's a problem, but then there's this box like something is missing. And what they're wanting us to do is they're wanting us to fill in what should be there. Well, right away I see a number line where they've shaded, so I know that it's not going to be an equal sign. Right? I know it's not going to be that because I know we're talking about something. If I see the shading in the number line, then I know that we're talking about something that's going to be less than or greater than or something like that. You notice that it's a solid. They've bubbled it in. That means that we're including 2. We're saying all the numbers that are less than 2 and including 2. Right? And so let's maybe kind of do, this is in Mathlish, let's maybe translate that to English real quick just so we're clear on that. So if we said, let's fill that back in there. So what this says is that I'm looking for all numbers smaller than 2, but also including 2. That's a D. Also including 2, right? So that's what happens when we bubble that in. What we're saying is that we're including that number. So if I want to say, well, what are all the numbers that are smaller than 2, but also including 2? Then what I'm saying is that I'm looking for something that would give me x as my answer, right? So it's kind of like they're giving us the problem, and then they're saying this is the answer. So this is the question. This is the answer. That's the answer. This is the question. Now it's kind of a weird problem because they're giving us the answer and they're asking us what should the question have started off as, like which symbol should be in there that would give me that as an answer. Well, so we're going to have to kind of work backwards a little bit here. So the answer is x less than, because we said all the numbers smaller than, but including 2. But that doesn't mean that there's a less than or equal there, because we don't know if this is the answer. This is what it ended up as. We don't know if that's how it started. So we're going to have to just rework the problem. Let's say -3 times 2x minus 5. And then they put a box. So I'm just going to put a box. So we're going to solve it just like we would. You know, we distribute when we see parentheses. So let's distribute. Right, so we end up with a -6x plus 15. And then we're just going to keep this box here. This box is what's separating the two sides. The opposite of a, let's see, like combine like terms, can't combine. All my x's are together on the same side. So let's move that number over. So the opposite of a plus 15 is a minus 15. So I end up with a -6x. And then a -12. Not sure why that line keeps coming in there. Go back. I'll redraw it. -12. Little technical difficulties here. Alright, so I'm trying to get x by itself. Let's see, I got to divide both sides by -6. So let's divide by -6. And then I get 2. So then the question is, well, oh, okay, so they already told me that this x less than or equal to 2. So they told me the answer that it ends up as a less than or equal to. And then so what I've got to figure out is that, okay, so was it always a less than or equal to? Like, what did it start off as? Well, if you look at what happens here, and this is kind of the whole point of this question, is that we divided by a negative. So if we divided by a negative, that means that whatever this was, it got switched around. So if it ended up being a less than or equal to, that must mean that it was a greater than or equal to. Because what happens is that when you divide by a negative, you have to switch the inequality symbol. Now, what about here? Would we have switched? Well, we're just subtracting, so that doesn't affect it, right? So what it means is that that actually would have started off as a greater than or equal to. Because we divided by a negative, that's what switched it around, right? So let's maybe make a note there just so we're clear what happened, is that from right here, So we're going to switch the symbol because we divided by negative. Okay. So again, kind of a weird question. They gave us the answer and they wanted us to figure out what the problem started off as. Well, if the answer is a less than or equal to, it must mean that the problem started off as a greater than or equal to. I'll give you a hint and kind of a shortcut here. Basically, it's just going to be the opposite, but we just want to prove that that's what it is, the opposite symbol. All right, so let me show you what number 5 would be on the right side, and then just make sure that you can actually show the work for it. So what they're telling you on this one is that they're telling you this is all the numbers that are bigger than negative 8 and including negative 8. So they're telling you that the answer is x greater than or equal to negative 8. And so what you have to figure out is that if any point in the problem you divide by a negative, which look, there's a negative out front, so you're going to have to divide, then the symbol is going to switch, that it's going to end up being a less than or equal to. But you just need to prove, don't leave your answer just like that, and you need to prove that it works. All right, so go ahead and stop here and try number 5.